Warning, the following program is not for the weak-hearted, those who are closed-minded, or in general, you're scared to learn what's behind closed doors. Here at Sapphire's Earplay, I want you to pour the wine, grab somebody that you want to hold on to, or better yet, get the vibration stimulated through your body. Get ready for one hell of an orgasm in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is up, all you sexy motherfuckers out there in Radio Land? It's your girl Sapphire, and y'all, you know what? I just love the internet. I love the internet and how it can connect just all these people, you know, the slutty people of Instagram can just connect together. And shout out to my girl Trish, or also known as the Safe Slut, for connecting my next guest tonight. It goes without saying, this girl has really kind of changed the game, in a sense, in my opinion, of how we approach slut culture, using their podcast platform called Slut Podcast. And I want to welcome, with the rowdy frat boys of my, audience, Miss Caitlin Dryden.
Woohoo! Here I am. Thank you. I'm so excited to speak with you today. And, I love my girl, Trisha.
You know what? I love her. She's truly the best. And, she knows, like, when she comes to LA, I don't know if I want to hug her, attack her, date her, attack in a good way, y'all. Okay, just everything.
We gotta get drinks with Trisha when she's in town. I think that would be a great slutty trio.
It would. Can we just have a nice little trifecta of slutty witchdom one night, Go out to Malibu. Yeah.
She's got to be coming out here soon, She's been what's her porn name again? I'm just forgetting.
Cassie Black.
Cassie Black, because she's got to come out into the LA porn scene soon enough. I feel it.
No, we've been talking about it, and I'm just I'm thoughting and plotting. I'm like, girl, we got to make this happen. We've literally been trying to get dates in, and it's just, our schedules are just ridiculous. But it goes without saying, soon enough. It just goes without saying. I just love how over the years, especially during COVID, I've just been connected with such beautiful entities. And Caitlin, I believe that you and I started following each other around the same time. And I don't know who reached out to who, but I really just loved your episode for Pride and doing the slut on the streets bit. Go check it out,
was
y'all.
Fun.
Oh my God. You both have the visual and the audio for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want people to really take a look at it and just thank you, because it's great to get those stories, especially during the Pride season at Pride.
Yes. Yeah. So what Sapphire is talking about is, for a few years now, every summer and, sometimes a few times a year, I put a call out to listeners and I tell them to submit some slutty stories. And usually that's been, through voicemails or text messages, and then I'll read them on the episode, and the episodes always do really well. But I've noticed that recently there is such a trend of people going out and asking interviews on the street. And so I was like, you know what? I think that we need to go to Pride in West Hollywood and ask some sluts what they have been up to. And it was so much fun. I had a great time. I want to do it again soon. I'm thinking about going down to the Venice boardwalk and doing it and see what happens there. I'm a little scared, but I think it could be good. So stay tuned for that.
Please get some of the ever so vagrants on the streets, get the wandering sluts, because I bet they got some good, as I call, hobosexual stories, And this is not, listen, before somebody's like, Sapphire, girl, I know you're not shaming the homeless people. No, I'm not. But homeless people be getting it in too. And I want to hear from those folks. They got
what
the
they've
grit.
been doing. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
They got the grit out there. So
they know about exhibitionism for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But it leaves us talking about our discussion tonight. And I could not find a better like co-host, because we are doing a co-host jointed episode. This is double the orgasm, merging of the platforms.
I love that. Double the orgasm.
Double the orgasm.
I love orgasm torture, so I'm in support.
Orgasm torture? Wait.
Okay. It sounds a lot more intense than what it is. It's just like being like forced to have like multiple orgasms in a row. And I didn't know that it was called orgasm torture until I did some research into it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's just like usually.
I thought it was just forced orgasm. Shit, I kind of like that. Because I got some stories now. Listen.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
I mean, I got a new little war scar right here, and some on the itty bitties. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, good for you.
And yes.
When did that happen?
I wanted to say last night. Yes.
Ooh. Okay. So, wow. Yeah. Fresh. Hot on the mic. We got this.
We got this. So, Caitlin, you have been on quite an interesting journey as of late. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. What is this newfound journey? What is going on? Why are we talking about what type of hoe are you?
Well, so I have been hosting my podcast Slut for a few years now. And the whole point of the show is to question who is and what makes a slut. And the idea came from, my life, my experiences, because I was called a slut before I ever even had sex. Because I have like big breasts and a curvy body, people have always assumed that I'm a slut, that I have a ton of sex with people. And, sometimes that's true.
Right.
But it made me want to create a show where I could question what a slut really is and what it means to different kinds of people. And so, let's take it to this year. So I was in a relationship last year and we ended things in November. So I have been on this new dating journey out in the field. And there's something that's been happening that has, kind of gave me pause to I guess how I'm behaving as well in life. And so I was listening to your episode with Madame Bella. And something that she said that I really, really loved, and that is really true, is that everybody uses their body to make money. And this year, I have had a lot of dates where men have assumed that I've done sex work before, or they are like, why don't you just start doing it? Like, you should do sex work. And at like the first time it happened, I was like immediately like offended. But then in that same moment, I got mad at myself because I was like, Caitlin, you're a feminist. Like, you love sex workers, you support sex work, you talk about sex work all the time. Like, why does that offend you? And I think like what offended me in that was because like they like can't seem to understand that like somebody can have empathy for sex workers and like be interested and like be supportive of sex workers, but not be a sex worker themselves. But then this kept happening. And it's kind of, I'm like, why is this going on? But so I basically my inner circle this year has been really shooken up. My like life is kind of turned upside down. So I'm in this transitionary time where I'm trying to figure out what's next, and I'm finishing school in a few months. So I'm looking for a job. And I started to talk to about this with my therapist, and she was like, okay, you know what you're suffering from is this thing called the prostitute archetype. And so the prostitute archetype,
that is a very interesting concept, first of all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
First of all, and then second, it's very interesting that you are being clocked as someone who could possibly be a sex worker, as I'm on my transition out, not as a sex worker, but as a worker in the sex industry.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting tie-in. So go on.
Very, exactly. So I thought that you might relate to this as well, but I'm just going to explain what the prostitute archetype is. So there's 4 survival archetypes. So these are just 4 different archetypes that we use to get through life. And this has been developed by Carol Myss. And so everyone deals with these 4 archetypes throughout their life. Like, not like everybody kind of like, whoops, I'm just banging the microphone. Everybody has like the prostitute in them. So the 4 types are the victim, the saboteur, the prostitute, and the child. And we typically identify with these archetypes in their shadow first. So there's good and bad. Like, being like a child isn't inherently bad, or being, sometimes you are a victim because something has victimized you, but you can kind of release yourself from that. And I'm going to quote Carol here just to explain what we're dealing with. So everything we do in life is a power negotiation. And when our power is threatened, we behave in certain ways. And when it comes to survival, we all ask ourselves these questions. What will I do to survive? What do I have to bring to the world? What are my talents and skills that I can convert into survival currency? So like you, for example, you have a great voice, you have a great personality, and you have turned that into a survival currency. Of course, we all love Sapphire here.
Oh,
and so it's all survival currency is about like how we use our power and what we will do with it. And the issue with the prostitute archetype comes up when we aren't sure what we can sell. So we start bargaining our power. And she makes a really good point of this because it's really true. And this ties into your episode with Madame Bella, is the greatest acts of prostitution are not in the back alleys of cities. They are really subtle. So it's when you sell a part of your energetic nature to another person, to a situation, to a political party, and it's in exchange for safety or a salary or a roof over your head. And we become agreeable and we don't speak up to the issues. And that is when we're giving away our power. And I talk about this because, so I had this situation after my boyfriend and I broke up. I got a DM, a follow from this guy who's doing really well in our industry. And he hit me up and he asked to take me out when he was in LA sometime. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go out with you. And then he was like, oh, we should do like a crossover episode, like la la la. And I was like, okay. Like he was like meaning like, I think to bang.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
so he wasn't talking about like actual, like, oh, professional. He's talking about, let me do the 69 twist. That type of, okay, that type of, oh my God.
Yeah. But he was like using his show to kind of like, get me more attracted to him. And, I was like, okay, this is weird. And then he like kept on telling me how hot I was. And then he sent me a voice note about how hot I was. And I was like, this is so weird. And then he sent me his number. So I just like stopped replying to him. And then the next morning I woke up and I got an unsolicited over the pants dick pic from him. There's like so many qualifiers.
Okay, so the people that are not watching the visuals, y'all, my face just scrunched up like I smelled some raw ass. As y'all know, despite the fact that I am a fiance to a man, the men, these boys, y'all
ridiculous.
are the reason. Y'all are the main reason why I am so into the puss. Because of that thing right there.
It's disgusting.
It's just, it's disgusting. It's fucking childish.
I don't even know why he thought that would work. It's so weird. So obviously I never replied to him. I just like left it. And then he apologized to me. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was in his city a few months ago and he asked to take me out for dinner. And honestly, I love a free meal. So I said yes.
Listen, slut rule number 1. You don't have to fuck them, but get your free 99 meal when you can get it.
Exactly. So I said yes
for that meal.
Exactly. But this is where the prostitute archetype has like been coming up in my life, right? So I go, we have a good time. I go to a rave later that night and la la. A few months later, 2 months later, he hits me up on this random Sunday morning, and he's like, hey, I'm in your part of the country. I'm in Santa Barbara. I'm here for a conference at the Ritz. Do you want to come with me? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, fuck it. Why not? Because I'm also looking for a job right now. And he knows that I'm like looking for a job. So I'm like, okay, this is like gonna be a good place to meet some people. I can go hang out at the Ritz, like whatever, right? But I was like, I don't know if I want to stay in the same room as him. Like, I'm just not sure yet. And my best friend's parents live in Santa Barbara and they love me. So I hit them up and I was like, hey, can I stay at your place? And they were like, yep, no problem. And I didn't tell him this. And I should have.
Good.
Okay. I should have told him this is where I fucked up. You know, we're not perfect. So I made plans. We go out for a very expensive dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Very expensive. We were hanging out at the Ritz, do a little walk down the beach. And then after dinner, I was like, hey, I didn't know how this was going to go. So I made other sleeping arrangements. But like, I'm enjoying spending time with you. Let's like do stuff tomorrow. Like, I'm down to hang out. And he was like fine about it in person, like a little like confused, which is, you know, fine.
Right.
But then when I got home, he was upset with me. And he was like, you need to learn how to communicate better, like all of this stuff. And like, I got like triggered. I just was like, I couldn't sleep at all that night. I just felt so weird. And then the next morning, he was trying to get me to stay. Like, he was like, okay, what do you want to do today? And I told him I'd come and meet him for a drink and, you know, maybe go to the pool and like see how I felt. And he was like, okay, well, are you going to stay tonight? Are you going to stay tonight? And I was like, okay, I'm not doing this. Like, he's like trying to like get me to say that I'm going to have sex with him when I'm just like not ready. And so this is like when I kind of realized this prostitute archetype, it has been affecting me because I feel unsafe right now. And I'm trying to like give away parts of my energetic nature to this person to like help me. Right. And it's actually like not serving me, right? Like this, I like signed up for this like unspoken agreement where like I would give my body over to him and in exchange, he would like give me all of these like connections.
Now, before you said that you fucked up, but I mean, did you necessarily fuck up? I mean, I want to just say this because I feel that a lot of women have been in your position. I've definitely been in that position. And we do tend to say, well, I fucked up because I didn't tell him I was not staying with him. I think you stood your ground and just saying I wasn't, you weren't making a sexpectation out of it.
Yes.
The sexpectation would have been, I'm going to go on this date. I don't care how much he paid. I'm going to stay over. We'll have sex. We'll do whatever. You didn't fuck up. I think you were literally protecting yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I was being deceitful though. Like, he did kind of like say, are you going to stay? And I was like, okay, sure. So I was, you know, and I did that. Like, in what I was just saying is I didn't speak up because I knew that something would be taken away from me if I told him that I wasn't going to fuck him that night.
Okay.
So that's like, I guess, like how I see myself, like, you know, being just like not honest. But no, I am happy. Like, I stood my ground. I didn't like do anything that I wasn't okay with and I wasn't uncomfortable with. And that is important. I just want to take some ownership for kind of being, you know, a bit of a lying slut there. But honestly, that was also part of it, was payback for sending me an unsolicited dick pic. And for, you know, I made an example of him for all of the men who have sent me unsolicited dick pics. That was like my moment then to get payback.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I have definitely said this, and I think I even said it in the episode with Bella, that basically we have put such an expectation that in order to go on a date or have a free meal, we are guaranteed sex. And that's what's wrong with the dating culture nowadays. It's not true. One drink, one meal, one conversation outside of the time of, you know, tapping on the screen together does not guarantee sex. You know what guarantees sex? Great communication.
Yes.
Your boy fucked up with the unsolicited dick pic and should have realized in his brain, like, okay, shit, I shouldn't have done that. I should apologize at the dinner.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I
We
mean?
never talked about it again. Yeah.
Right.
And this is something, do you know the slum flower?
I feel like I've heard of it, but
She's
please, for our
great.
listeners,
Shadira.
yeah.
She is amazing. She has a podcast. She's a dom. Her podcast is called the Slum Flower Hour. You should definitely listen to it. I think she has a lot of really interesting kind of, edge, on the edge, like new things that we haven't heard from. And one of her things that she always says is that you do not owe men anything for their generosity. And that's something that I have really taken on this year, because I used to feel like I owed men for their generosity when I was in my earlier 20s. But no, definitely not anymore. But I felt guilty. I did feel guilty for not fucking him, and he made me feel guilty. And that's when I knew that I was in trouble.
And again, you shouldn't feel this guilt. And I feel that we are kind of taught that. We are groomed at a very young childhood, entering into our questioning stages of dating. That if someone takes you out, you got to thank them a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's like, y'all, that's why sometimes I'm like, I'd rather just, I'll go on the date, but I'll pay for my end of the date. We can go Dutch. That way you don't feel entitled to this pussy. And I try to do the same thing when I'm dating women too. I don't want women to feel, or anybody who's dating me in general, I don't want to feel that if I'm shelving out money for you, that you are owed something to me.
Yeah.
What's owed is the time spent.
Yeah.
The time spent can lead into me maybe pulling those panties to the side.
Yeah.
It's a give. It is a give and take.
Yeah.
Is dating transactional? Absolutely. But it's transactional on your terms, not on the said terms of the person that might be pressuring you on this date.
Yeah, it's true. So how have you seen, have you had experiences like this before where you have rejected man and then or a person and you feel guilty after?
How much time we got? I mean, because that's literally what Sapphire's Earplay has evolved, and it's been an evolving podcast for years now. And a lot of people who have followed me long enough, know I've had some of the cringiest bed lays, because I didn't really date. Let me reiterate, my level of slutdom in my 20s, I was a slut. I was not fucking for a relationship. I was fucking to reclaim my sexuality, to reclaim all the times that I ever felt rejected as someone's secret, their sneaky link. I was trying to be the female. Yeah, I was trying to own it like a man would. If I could fuck as many men and women, and especially treat the men like shit that men did to me on the past, I felt fine. That was, I don't want to say like I was an angry slut or a vengeful slut, but I was a slut that just basically knew what she wanted, didn't give a fuck at the end, if the guy liked it or not. Because either way, if you left me disappointed, I'm just going to finish myself off or get somebody else to finish the deal. So,
did that make you feel better?
You know what? I never regret it. The only thing I would probably change is just how about I navigated sex. And I definitely did put myself in some questionable hookups, especially, being a woman in her 20s, a Black woman in her 20s, living on her own, and most of the partners were white men who necessarily didn't know how to respect a Black woman in the bedroom. And so I've definitely had moments where this one guy, for instance, never forget this. A couple, this was like around the time that I first moved into my loft, and I was out at Disneyland all day. Okay. This man texts me as I'm leaving for Disneyland. Hey, you wanna fuck tonight? I'm like, well, I don't know what time I'm getting back. And he's like, well, where are you? I was like, I'm at Disneyland. And he's like, well, how long? When do you think you'll be back? I'm like, one does not question one's time at Disneyland. Like, I'll show and come home when the fuck I want to come home.
Yeah. Like, I gotta go see Minnie Mouse.
Yeah.
I gotta go on the teacups.
I gotta do everything. And who puts a timestamp on Disneyland?
Also, I don't owe you my time.
That.
Like, you are, like, not in my life at all.
No. And we hadn't even had a date or anything. You just want to fuck. And so we will fuck when I'm fucking ready. And I said, listen, if I'm down, I will text you. But I can guarantee you it's not going to be between the hours of, whatever.
Yeah.
So I text him because I am nice. I am nice until I'm not nice. And so it's like 11:30. I smell like Disney. I got Disney legs. Anybody knows.
What does Disney smell like?
Disney smells like all the wonderful dreams and popcorn and then the swampiness of swamp crotch and swamp titties.
You can't have your pussy ate with swamp crotch.
Fuck no. Fuck no. And I don't even care if you like musty pussy. I don't like musty pussy. I don't like the smell of my musty pussy.
No, neither do I. I'm like, not today. Yeah.
Not today.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Disney legs, and Disney legs are rough. If you're a thick chick, you know what I'm talking about.
Chafing. Yeah.
Chafing.
Got to bring that
real.
deodorant with you. Yeah.
Everything. Everything. So I'm tired. Sex is on the last thing on my mind, but you know what? I was like, fuck it. I know where this is going to go, and I'm going to give a piece of my mind, and he's going to learn today. Don't you come to Sapphire's lair with this type of behavior. So long story short, the greatest thing about LA in certain parts of LA where you live, the parking situation. And, there was only one person at the time, he's now my fiance, who was ever allowed to park in my garage. So I didn't tell this man like, oh yeah, I got an extra space.
He's got to pay for parking.
You got to either pay for parking, fucking pay for your own Uber or any type of transportation, or you're going to park on the side of the street that it allows 2-hour parking and there's no overnight parking. Yeah, that's it. So he, I give him the address and 45 minutes later, he's finally at my door. And instead of like saying like, hey, thank you for coming up, letting me come over, the first thing he does is come in and he's like, all right, so take off your panties. I was like, first of all, hi.
Excuse you.
Right. First of all, hi. Oh, no, I thought we were just going to go do the thing. Like, there's no talking here. I was like, okay, cool. You're in my space. So first of all, hi, how are you doing? Would you like a glass of water for your thirsty ass? And didn't your mama teach you any manners when in the presence of a fucking queen?
And this is a white dude, didn't. Right?
Oh, clearly, yes. Don't even get me started of the times he was like, have you ever had a white guy that's with this? Listen, I don't give a fuck if you are a white man with a 9-inch dick. That 9-inch is probably 6, 5.5 if best. And you're not going to last long in this pussy. I could just look at you and tell you're not going to last in this pussy. Yeah. So then he was like, I did not drive around your block for 15 minutes to just talk. And I was like, okay, cool.
Whoa.
You know what? You could take your sad ass and get the fuck out. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really? Thank you for driving and complaining and demanding sex. Welcome to my house. And in my house, we don't do this.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for, marriage, but I'm damn sure not asking from somebody who's going to demand to get this pussy.
Yeah, like you can have casual sex with somebody and treat them like a human. Like, and have a conversation. Like, I guess maybe I'm more of a like sapiosexual, demisexual. Like, I need to have a conversation with somebody before we fuck. And like, that's just like human decency. Like it's like shaking hands, like,
yes.
We have to do something.
You have to do something. And I'm the same way. I'm a sapiosexual. I've always said, penetrate my mind first, then my body. Then we can talk. I would call it the couch test. Some people are like, that sounds a little pornish. I'm like, no, the couch test is
Let's sit
down, let's smoke, let's drink a little, or have a little bit of water and conversation, and then
See
let
how
me
we're
see if
doing.
you're worthy to be in this party. Because again, sex is an energy swapping thing. And I didn't realize that in my
Neither did I.
That in my 20s.
When did you realize that sex was an energy exchange?
I think for me, it was around the time I met my fiance. And I don't know if it was because we really started off of having great conversation. In fact, a lot of people know, and I don't need to like go into this, but for your listeners' benefit, my fiance and I, when we linked up on Tinder, I waited to get the approval of some porn chicks to see if he was even worth swiping right on. And so I did that. We made a whole radio bit at the time. And so then I swiped right. It was a match.
Why were you nervous? Why were you nervous about if he was right?
Well, what would you say if you saw a man in a nice suit running from a fucking lion? That was his photo.
I'm not sure.
I'll slide it to your DM because he definitely posted it. It is the picture that kind of started it all. And you know, I'm looking at this man. I was like, damn, he's well dressed, but what the fuck is he really put in an effort to superimpose him running from a lion? This man has to be fun.
Yeah.
And you know, when we started talking on the DMs and decided to take it into real life, he really did his research. Like he really listened to the show, knew what he was getting himself into, right? And then even caught, like when we had our first date, which was at a bar, we had one drink.
I remember this. Yeah. But go on.
Yeah, had one drink, didn't fuck on the first date, didn't fuck until the second date, which was billiards, and made it, you know, fun. And that was it. Like I think we kind of just brought something out of each other where it was not just the sex. The sex was amazing and kept getting like better and better. And it still gets better and better as I'm reflecting now 8 years later, you know.
Wow.
But I finally met a guy who matched my freak. You know, he loved to penetrate my mind and then penetrate this pussy. And then he also got like the fact that I do love other women. And, you know, we just kind of brought it out of each other. And after that, I realized like the other men that I was giving my time to in between him, it wasn't the same. It was, you know, there wasn't a benefit. There wasn't anything gained from it either. And with him, it was like, oh, you want to do these things for me outside of the bedroom. Okay. You want to hang out and not just have sex. Okay, cool. Don't know where this is going, but I'm going to love it.
And so, you hadn't experienced that?
No. Even when I was with a woman, one of my first other relationship, serious monogamous relationship I had, and only monogamous relationship I had with a woman, we never communicated well. You know, I didn't, and like having sex with her, it no longer became fun.
What made you stay in that relationship?
Honestly, I think it was just the fact that I was like, I'd never had been in a relationship, so I needed to feel that. I needed to feel validated that somebody, like I needed to feel validated that somebody wanted to spend time with me.
Yeah.
Even if it was bad. It was a year and a half too long. And after that, that's when I went back into my whole rotation. And that's when I met my man. And then through him, I met a girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend now, but it's still his current girlfriend. And we have a great relationship with Kitchen Table Polly. And then, you know, I met my other girlfriend who I've been now with for 3.5 years. Wow. And it's great. So it's like we brought different things out of each other. And the sexual relationship, it wasn't just, it was about sex, but it was also like, we just knew that we kind of connected on each other when we brought each other's creativity out. And that's what I think, you know, that's when I started going from a pro hoe, as I called it, to now a selective hoe. Like the hoe is still in me, but now she is selective of who I'm allowing to spend my sexual energy with.
When you started to make that shift into being more selective, what was like the shift in your brain? Like how was it gaining more confidence in yourself and knowing?
Yeah,
Go
you know
on.
what's crazy? Because I feel like a lot of people, they see me and they're like, damn, this girl Jace has so much confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And as of late, I've really been talking about how vulnerable and really like it's my partners who kind of validate my own self-confidence because
Mm.
I was so used to just people wanting to get with me because I was a girl who worked in radio, who worked in
Mm.
porn. So there comes
Mm-hmm.
your,
Yeah.
how you were feeling almost like being treated like a sex worker. I too
Mm-hmm.
was feeling like there was this expectation that because I
Yeah.
have on my dating profile that I work in porn, I work in the radio industry, but I also am a sex podcaster who
Yeah.
exudes sex positivity. It was like people on dating apps just said, oh, well, this girl, she's going to be the best lay of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But it was no longer, I didn't feel like I was no longer a person. I felt like it was just people just wanted me for the
Yeah.
sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt kind of used and abused by that.
Yeah.
But when you asked me earlier, like, have I ever regretted any of that? I don't, because that's kind of what made my platform the way that it is. Talking, uncandidly about some of these sexual entanglements I got myself into, whether it was for the better or for the worse.
Yeah. I was reading this interview with you from a few years ago, and you were talking about when you were working in the adult industry and like also being in radio. You said, quote, "It's had its moments where people didn't want to take me seriously." And this is something that I, worry and I worry about with my show. And I'm curious, how do you handle when people doubt your talent, whether it be professionally or personally, just because you're in the field of sex?
Oh my God. Can I just say that actually fairly recently, and I'm not going to call out the show, I'll tell you after.
Okay.
But I was applying for a very big show. And the personality of that show knew who I was because we had a lot of mutual people. And basically, I was told through a friend that they did not want to hire, quote unquote, a radio hoe who slept her way in to this business. Now, first of all, I have never fucked anybody in the radio industry to get where I am today. And I never fucked. Have I fucked people in the porn industry? Yes. But did I get a position out of it? No. Okay?
Come on, when you're in porn, you have to fuck somebody in porn.
Let me tell you, when that girl broke up with me, the next day I had an interview with a porn star, and you best believe I cashed out my guest benefits, okay? I was
As you
turned the fuck
should.
out and had accidental anal, but that's a different story.
Accidental anal, AA.
Accidental
A different kind of AA, yeah.
A different type of AA for sure. So, yeah, I've never had to sleep my way to get a position. What this black man was threatened by is that I am a woman who is very secure in talking about sex and dating. And I think he was not ready. And I've noticed this, especially in the Black community. I cannot be fit into a box when it comes to coming into certain spaces in radio, in this urban market, as they call it. I'm not PC friendly, apparently, for the airwaves, though I've been on multiple airwaves depending upon the platform. But, I wasn't good enough for
And you're a
morning show. I
professional,
wasn't
you
good
can
enough.
adjust yourself.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it wasn't until then, when I was applying for that position, that I ever felt threatened of my background in porn. Like all of my employers have known. Even the traffic job that I work now and working, for iHeart, it's no secret that I have a background in sexuality. And it's never once been thrown in my face until I was trying to apply for that. Now, where it's also hindered as far as like my sexual relationships, again, it was putting like this expectation that because I'm polyamorous, because I have access to, the world of sex, that you're guaranteed 3-ways, you're guaranteed orgies, you're guaranteed to go to the porn
I've had
parties I
this
get
as
invited.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hate that people have this stereotype that because you exude sex positivity, that means, oh, they're going to be a great lay. They're going to be the greatest partner. And that's not the case. That's not the case.
Well, I'm sure you're a great partner, but
I try. You know, I try.
Yeah. I've experienced this too. I think I guess I'm not sure professionally just yet because, you know, I guess we'll see how things go, but definitely like personally, I have there's this other guy who comes to mind who I went on a date with, and we just made out, and then after I told him that I didn't want to see him again, and then he called me a slut
for kissing you.
Yes, so crazy. Like I didn't even have sex with him. And it reminds me of something that I was talking about with Michelle T on one of my episodes recently. And Michelle T just released a book which she edited called Sluts. And it's a great book. You should get it. But one thing she said is that when slut is being hurled at women who, just my camera being annoying. When slut is being hurled at women slut is hurled at women when they detect that you aren't falling into the feminine line.
And I think absolutely, like, to cut into that, it's funny when we say that sluts can't be feminists. Feminists are sluts. Okay. And honestly, I'm kind of pissed off. No, I shouldn't say I'm kind of pissed off. I'm really fucking pissed at how Amber Rose, as of late, has shifted from putting the slut, positivity in the limelight in a positive way. And then now you are supporting a man, a carrot top, who doesn't exactly align with sex positivity. Like this.
Why do you think she's doing that?
You know what? Honestly, I don't fucking know. But it's like the same question I ask any woman who's a Republican who like supports a man who is so sexually repressed and is such a fucking predator on so many different levels. How are you as a woman, even just as a any vulva owner, okay? How does any vulva owner support anything that's going on with this candidacy?
Do you think that she's like doing it to, gain publicity in a way? Or do you think it is authentic?
I think it honestly, I wanted to say I thought so, yes. That I thought it was a ploy. But now I just see the way that she's doing it and I'm like, oh, you really firmly are for this. And you have now taken such a back seat from what you represented before. And I don't understand that. Because I really do question society that we have made women change their minds of sexual liberation.
Yeah. Or if like you want more power, then you have to compromise some of your values. But that's not true. And that actually ties into the prostitute archetype, which we were talking about before, is when you sell parts of your energetic quality that is really important. And you're selling it for safety. Like she's clearly like, maybe she's getting money from this. So she's getting economic safety. And so she is like compromising her values and staying silent on other ones when it's actually going to compromise her in the long run.
Absolutely. And so again, it's just, it brings all these things like what actually is a slut? What scares people so much about a slut? And why is it such a dirty word? Because a woman is sexually comfortable and secure in her own body and doesn't give a fuck?
Why do you think people are afraid of sluts?
I think, honestly, just dealing with my own personal effects, both in the dating life and professional life, especially, I think people are just afraid of people who are so vulnerable to the public. And when you add in the level of sexuality into it, and when you're sexually vulnerable, it makes people fear like, oh, okay, so anything I say, they just don't give a fuck. That's what I think it is. People do not like people who do not stand on the sidelines and just agree.
Yeah.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea, especially in the sex positive world. It's funny because there are a lot of sexual influencers out there that love taking my shit, love taking shit from me that I've said for years. And
what?
Just talking about, in general, going back to shadow banning. I was talking about shadow banning years ago.
Yeah.
And saying how social media did not like people like myself who are sexually open and vulnerable, or how biased the algorithm can be to sex positive influencers.
Yeah.
And now people are just talking about it. Or talking about, the safety and hazards of dating apps, and how, it is very not just time consuming, but it's very detrimental to people's mental health.
Yeah.
I was talking about it before. So when I see people do this and they're not living exactly that same truth in their real life, I got to call it out.
Yeah.
And I know we're going off a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just, it pains me to know that because you are comfortable in your own skin and your own body as a woman, especially on dating apps, you cannot ask for the sex you want and demand the attention that you need without becoming a slut. A slut should be someone who's empowering, someone who knows the power of no, someone that you should be able to come to. That's why I always say some of your best experiences might be through a paid service.
Yeah.
Because these women who get into this type of courtesan work, they know the psychological benefits and detriments that come with sexuality.
Tying it back into sex work, I guess I'm also curious, how did editing porn affect your view on sex?
Well, I mean, even just when I first got into the industry and seeing how it's evolved, especially from the early digital era of, before OnlyFans and all that, and those platforms were coming out, and now going into the full-on digital era where my work that I was editing is now like out there for free. I get when sex workers say pay for your content.
Yeah.
So for me, it just gave me more empathy towards sex workers, especially for the actors and actresses. It's not like Hollywood where they get paid royalties. Unfortunately, these companies, and not to say like the company I worked for is toxic, it's just unfortunately in this industry, you notice a lot of things that these actors and actresses, and even some of the people behind the scenes, the producers and directors and further down the line, we unfortunately get so fucked in this industry so hard. There's no way to get paid, royalties when your name and image is out there and compilations are made. And even made off of dead porn stars. I personally feel that if a porn star has died in the industry, retire the films.
Yeah.
Do not resell them. Stop, putting them out. Like, we don't do that even for actors who've passed on. We honor the fact that this was their last project and we move forward.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, I learned how to be more sex positive and to be more understanding of not just my own sexuality, but also the mental, the mental health limitations that these poor, I don't want to say these poor people, but these, these actors and content workers really have to go through. It's not all, and on top of that, it's like you see everything. So anything that people
especially as the editor.
Yes, as the editor, I see it all. And yes, there are limitations even for the editor. Like there are times I've had to flag the content because it's not good for cable. It's not good to put out. if I'm going to be I was the QC editor, which is basically I am the person that just needs to make sure that the final product is good.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm seeing shit on the camera, for instance, no one wants to see that. There, like
some people.
Some people. Though there is that category.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, y'all.
Majority.
Like, the majority of these studios, we have like a book of rules, and guidelines of the content. So it made me realize that the porn industry is not just like fucking on camera and that's it. There is a lot of art to it. It's just like the movie business.
Yeah.
If there's errors, things are not synced, you want the best quality for your porn. But also it just made me realize just how dark this industry is, and that when somebody is out of the business, people cut ties like no other. And I'm
Why do you think the porn business does that? I've had conversations with, Ginger Banks, who I know you've also had on the show before.
Yes.
Love her. Why do you think once somebody leaves porn that they're so extradited?
I think it comes down to the fact that unfortunately society is just doesn't know what to do with them at the end of the day. It's the same reason why, some people say like, Sapphire, you're very lucky that you're able to walk that fine line between the porn industry and into the mainstream, because it's very hard.
Yeah.
You've seen it all the time. Porn stars that want to get into the mainstream, but they're only, casted as extras or casted for the hardcore scenes in a movie.
Yeah.
They're not really taken seriously. Like, Chloe Cherry, props to her, getting her prominence into Euphoria. But I still feel like she will be, typecasted as the bimbo blonde, and all that. So there's only just a very little small niche of the industry where I've known people, even in radio, have had porn backgrounds, but they've changed their names and they changed their likeness and all that. Or they've, even when they're getting credited in porn, they're completely out of a different name, and they make sure that their faces are not seen. So I can't give you a solidified answer as to why we are so, detrimental to porn stars, and why is it that we're so, again, bringing it back to the dating apps, why if someone says that they're in porn or do any type of adult content, they no longer are that person. They are the product. You treat these people on dating apps like a product and not a person anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And speaking of, because I got talking about social media, I had stumbled across this little Reddit feed, and the headline the guy said was, "Women today are the ones slut shaming men and trying to control bodies."
I just want to know who he's talking to.
Right? Right? So this woman writes in and she said, "Today at work, I overheard women talking about a male coworker. They were looking through his social media and saw he was on vacation in Colombia, and he posted some pictures with a girl. They were saying, 'Oh my God, he's a passport bro.' They started calling him a predator. And one of them said, 'I don't know if I feel comfortable around him anymore.' I was just shocked. I know he never told them anything about his dating life. They just know that a lot of guys where I work are passport bros. Passport bros, if you guys don't know, are just the ones who are constantly traveling. And not just traveling. Getting flown out or whatever. There's passport bros and hoes.
Yeah.
Take it as you will." So with that said, she also said, "What happened to my body, my choice? It's his dick and his business where he's sticking it, not theirs." And they are here calling him a predator and don't know how to feel comfortable around him anymore. And I'm wondering if they're trying to ruin this passport bro's career, because they already are building a narrative that he's just some kind of criminal. So it's just obviously going to have some negative impact on the job. That's crazy to me.
So, okay, now having more context of...
Yes.
So, I do feel like sometimes women slut shame more than men. I honestly feel more judgment from women sometimes. Not all women, obviously. When I tell them what my podcast is about, versus men. Because usually when I tell men, they kind of get titillated and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds like hot, right?
Right.
Like most men are like, oh yeah, dick, you know, like pussy and shit. But women are judgmental of you because we have been taught as women, we have all of this internalized misogyny that tells us a slut is bad and a sexualized woman is bad. A woman who has like big tits or a big butt is threatening to you and is threatening some part of your safety. So maybe, oh, she gets more guys than you, or maybe she'll fuck your boyfriend. So I think that women can slut shame a lot, and I've been slut shamed by women.
It hurts more, doesn't it?
It does hurt more. It hurts because women are also meaner.
Oh my God. And it would be your own friends. That's the kicker. It's your own friends. Like, I had to cut ties with a girl, and she's still now in our adulthood because, like, I hadn't talked to her. I stopped talking to her when I was 21. And then, unfortunately, last year, our friend, a mutual friend, her father had passed away. And so I hadn't seen this girl in so long. Yeah. She's now married, has 2 kids, and it's great.
Yeah.
Have your life. But I do not forget how you used to treat me when I was not fully out.
Yeah.
She outed me before I was publicly outed.
Oh, that's... No.
You know, or would introduce me like, oh, this is, you know, I'm just going to make up a name just to satisfy people's ease of like, who is she talking about in her friend group? But, you know, I would be introduced like, here's my friend Jill, here's my friend Devin, and oh, this is Meghan. She's the slut. Like, she's a slut. Like, literally, just casually would say that, and I would have to uncomfortably laugh and go with it. You know?
Yeah, you're like, haha, I guess I'm the slut.
Right.
Like,
or she's a lesbian, so, you know, like, don't try to get fingered by her. I'm like, oh, so now you're introducing me as a
Wouldn't
predator.
You want to get fingered by a lesbian? I feel like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm not just gonna go up to a girl that I just met and just, you know, diddle or skittle right in front of everybody.
Bizarre.
Like, the fuck?
Yeah. That's like when when like somebody has like a gay friend and then you know another gay person and they're like, you two should date. Like that happens to a lot of gay men, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have never felt more slut shamed in public than with my friends, or now my not so friends.
Yeah.
Like, my friend circle is small, y'all. It is pathetic. Like, I rather hang out with...
It's better to have the few, though.
It is.
Especially in LA.
Yeah, it's quality and not quantity. If I vibe with you, cool. If we don't, fine. Yeah. That's the you know, the universe saying protect your energy in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But I just never understood why women are so sexually repressive to other women.
I wonder if you have experienced this as well. When you have been like single for a really long time, people are always like trying to like figure you out, and you have more social currency when you are in a relationship, especially as a woman. And I found that like when I was with my boyfriend, people were almost like, oh, finally we figured her out, she has a boyfriend now and she's better, like la la. Did you experience that?
You know what's weird? The reaction was, she's dating a guy. that was the first. That was the first. Like, when I did the soft launch of like us, it was like, oh, she's dating a guy, if that, you know. And then it was like, oh, she's in love. And then when I came out as polyamorous, it's like, oh, so she's back to her greedy ways. Even still, like, people are now, I guess because people don't read on social media, you know, I posted a video of my engagement, and yet I feel like I'm always having to advertise that I'm engaged. And then the first thing people ask now is, well, what about your girlfriend? I'm like, what about her?
Yeah, what about? Come on.
We're still gonna date.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, is she getting married too? And I was like, no.
No, we're not engaged.
My girlfriend has yeah, she ain't getting married again. And she's been married. She don't want to get married anymore. Like, no, she doesn't want that. That's not her life. That's not her life. So it's been very jarring of how people react to a sex positive person like myself, and it's not like, oh, congratulations, you're in love. It's, oh, congratulations, you got the hoe. What?
Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you see your relationships changing once you are married, or will they change?
I don't see my relationship changing at all. I think that just because, and you will soon find out once we do hang, because I'm extending the invitation for you to hang.
Can't wait.
Yes. But as like, I would say, people, I think that for me and for my fiance, like, we're very, very vocal of what we were getting into. And I don't think that we would have gotten engaged if we weren't polyamorous. If we were monogamous, this would have never worked out. So I think that for the fact that we know how comfortable we are, what we are seeing, I don't see anything changing at the, because of the fact that we're married, we're still going to go date the people that we date separately and together. I don't think that's going to change. Even like being asked the question of like, when you have babies, because now I have hella baby fever, y'all. I want babies.
You? Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I so want babies. Just thinking about it gets me wet. Like,
I can't wait to see all the little sapphires.
Yeah. Like, they're going to be the most sex positive babies. Like, it is going to be such the sex positive household. It's not going to change anything. And we've talked about that. Like, we are going to be open with our children, down the line, about us being polyamorous, about mommy being, queer and, and all that. That's not going to change. I'm going to raise the best, sex positive beings that this world is ever going to know. That's how I see it. These babies are going to know how to clap back like their mama did on social media.
Yes.
And clap back to these men. And we need to stop calling them men, because real men don't demand sex on dating apps.
No.
Real men don't send dick pics. If it was up to me, I'd send that dick pic that you sent to your mama, to your grandmama. I don't want to be responsible for Nana's death and everything, but I'm just saying, like, we need to really stop the whole, like, a hoe is not a housewife. A hoe can be a housewife, and she can be a hoe wife if
multidimensional.
Yes. We love the freak in the sheets, but we just don't want her in the street. Like, no, fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck that mentality. Absolutely.
So you don't want anything to change between you two, or change between your sex life and stuff. But what is something that you wish for your sex life with your fiance, and for your life with your fiance, as you head into this new era? Because I'm sure, like, stuff will change, like, when you do have kids. So, like, what do you want to, like, remind yourself? Like, if this is, like, you look back on this in a few years from now.
I'm sure I'm going to, because I always look back constantly, actually. As of late, I get really sentimental about things. But I honestly just want to remind myself constantly, like, how we got together. It's no secret. Like, yes, we, a dating app did bring us together, but it brought us for the better. And I just want to be I want to try to remind myself that, Benjamin, my fiance, Mr. Suit and Tie, loves me regardless. He didn't fall in love with Sapphire. He fell in love with Meghan.
Yes.
And together, he knows the difference between Meghan and Sapphire. He really does, because he'll say it. And so I think that's going to be the constant reminder, is just knowing that, our sex did bring us together, but our passion and our love for each other and our respect for one another is going to be the constant reminder of, like, why we're in it. And I always do, try to thank him on a consistent basis of, like, thank you for seeing me beyond this sex positive podcaster. And I wish that for you too, that as you're venturing into this dating life, I didn't even ask you, like, are you now at this point, like, are you done with monogamy? Are you still trying to seek monogamy, in this new change of life?
Yeah, I am monogamous, like from what I like know about. I guess I would say I'm monogamish. I haven't
Okay.
been with somebody long enough to know, like to be like, okay, maybe I like want to bring somebody else in or like have something exciting. I I like, I'm such a lover and I'm like very committed. I'm a Scorpio also. I'm like, I don't know if you like subscribe to astrology much, but like I'm like such
I
a
dabble.
Scorpio.
I dabble.
You dabble. So I'm like, I can like jealousy and stuff. So I'm like, I couldn't imagine like having like my boyfriend having another girlfriend. I just like, I couldn't handle that. I like so respect it, and I'm like, that's sick. But yeah, I think I'm monogamous. Like that's what I'm looking for in a relationship right now. But I want somebody who's open to trying stuff. That is like what is important to me, is just like being open, because I don't know how I'm gonna feel in a few years, right? So I'm like committed to finding somebody and growing with them and like seeing where things go. So maybe like, if you know Dan Savage and his story, maybe I'm like Terry in Dan Savage's relationship, where I'm like super monogamous, and then in a few years from now I'm not. So I guess we'll have to see.
Honestly, it does take the right partner. I got lucky because I was the one that brought up the polyamorous side after we had been fucking for 3 years without entitlement. We were already kind of in that position. And when my now girlfriend and I were just like starting to get to know each other and all that, she was the one that was like, maybe you are polyamorous. And I had interviewed polyamorous couples before, but I just never knew that was an option for me. So you never know. It's great to find a partner moving forward who aligns with your dating style. And dating styles and attractiveness evolves.
Yes.
So if you can have a partner who evolves with you on that, that's great. Because I love that you brought up Dan Savage's relationship. I love how they're very open with their lifestyle and their relationship, but also how it was because they brought it out of each other. It wasn't like Dan presented it or his wife presented it and said, this is the standard. That's it.
Yeah.
And couples should be able to be willing to be open with each other.
Yeah.
Maybe you are monogamish right now, and maybe you do want to teeter-totter in. So now you just have to find that other monogamish person.
Yeah.
That real monogamish guy that understands it and gets it, and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully I have one soon,
I'm
coming
sending
in
the
here.
fanny flutters.
I do have a date tonight, so.
Oh,
well,
there we go. Let me send the pussy power out.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Fan
Thank
it
you.
out. There you go.
Yeah. And
I definitely want to recap.
yeah. I'll let you know. No. There was something that you were just saying there now, about Meghan versus Sapphire. And I feel like a lot of people listening right now know Sapphire.
Yes.
But I want to know Meghan a little bit more.
Well, I'm going to flip the script on you too, because I want to ask you the same thing. Because I know it gets, like radio personalities, people they always think that you're just on. And for me, Meghan hates people, y'all. I really hate people. I don't know if it was like the COVID that kind of solidified it, but man, quarantine was bomb. I didn't have to deal with people. I didn't have to tell people to shut the fuck up. Like nothing. Now I'm just like, I do like to get out, but I like to be like chill. I don't like to do what Meghan used to do. Like I don't really go out to the bars and clubs like that all the time. I go to one bar and everybody knows, like, my fiance and I are members at a very exclusive, nice bar, and it's great because it's like our watering hole. They know the vibes and they know the people, and it's like the same people all gathered together. You're nerdy, you might be a little, on the queer side, you might be on the freak side, but we all just have a common ground. We like the Disneyland of drinking. That's what it is. Anyways, So Megan is very like, I'm a homebody now. I like to read. I like to get lost in my vinyl. I smoke weed. I drink wine. I drink whiskey. I like to experiment in my bar. And I just love going to sex parties. But I'm also like a siren at these sex parties. So I kind of like the conceited side of my brain inside is like, ooh, damn, I know everybody's looking at me right now, but I'm not going to fuck you. And I love having that power.
Yes,
I love having that power where they're like, you just exude all this sexual energy and I don't know where it's going, but I know you're not fucking me. And that's true. But I'm very nice. I'm very approachable at the same time that I don't like people, but I do love people. I love true crime.
You love the right people.
I love the right people because, again, loving true crime, you get suspicious of everybody.
I had to stop watching true crime. Yeah.
You got to suspect everybody, and that's how I am. I think of the worst situations possible.
Well, you're also a Black woman too, so I'm sure like you move through the world because you have to be suspicious almost too, or you have to protect yourself.
Thank you for noticing that because I feel like I have to constantly explain myself sometimes. Like, you know, I'm very passionate and some people think the passion is anger and I'm like, no, if I was angry, I'd be cussing. Okay, I'd be red in the face. I will literally throw things. That's when I'm angry. Me being passionate and telling you to stop something is out of concern. Yeah. And so that also can be the difference. Sapphire tells it like it is. Meghan is going to make you feel, I don't want to say like guilty, like a child, you know, getting punished by their parent, but I do tend to do that. Yeah. In the nicest, safest way possible. But there's a difference. I'm more to myself. I'm more private. And that's about it. Like, I like the simplicity of things. I'll choose my family over my friends any day. I love hanging out with my families. And that's the thing. Like, there's just more layers. And sometimes people think that me just trying to get to know you is me getting into your pants. And I just want to just know you. I want to connect with you besides like what you ate for dinner. Yeah. That's me. What about for you? Like Caitlin, you know, the audio person versus Caitlin, the content creator for Slut Pod.
You know, I guess who am I? I guess I'm a really social person. I like to be out and about. I'm always questioning everything. I like to like think that my on air and my personal is connected, but I'm more withholding on air because I'm like concerned about revealing too much about myself and it being used against me, which I'm sure you've experienced before. So I think that sometimes I withhold when I'm like doing certain things and not saying. So I'm always like working on like getting being like more myself in front of the camera. So I would say that the slut Caitlin, like the podcast Caitlin, is very intellectual, but then also kind of funny and stuff. But I think I'm a lot spicier sometimes when I'm off mic. I get a little crazy. I like have, you know, like I have like weird theories that I like stick to and stuff. But I'm just a really curious person. I like to I walk a lot, you know, that type of stuff. But I was asking also about like who Meghan is, because I was kind of curious to kind of, you know, connect what we've been talking about. Is you are like a selective hoe. What would you tell younger Meghan who was not a selective hoe? Yeah. What would you tell her if you could talk to her now?
Know your worth, know your time, because there was a lot of time I could have gotten back. There's a lot of time I could have gotten back. You know, and stick to your ground. Like I'm glad that I always stuck my ground of, you know, just I had the knack of, am I gonna fuck this person for content or am I gonna fuck this person for connection? And a lot of the time, and so I will say this, younger Meghan, listen, your content is always going to be there. So instead of fucking the questionable people for the content, just have a good time. Have a good time.
Yeah.
Have a good time. Thank you for being safe, but know your value and stop giving these fuck boys your time.
Mm-hmm.
But also your bullshit meter. We will always be thankful for that. The bullshit meter was great.
Yeah.
And still is great.
I believe that.
Yeah. I call bullshit from a mile away. If you are bragging about your dick game, that dick is weak.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to brag about it,
it's true.
You ain't about it.
No.
Period. So I that's the only thing I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Same question for you. Is there anything you would tell your younger self, or even now, monogamous Kayla in a relationship versus, or Caitlyn, sorry, not Kayla.
No, it's all good.
Monogamous Caitlyn, in her relationship versus Caitlyn now healing from this relationship.
Yeah.
In your healing stages, what would you tell yourself?
You don't have to stay if you're having a good time. And this is something that I realized when I left the relationship is I feel the same way. When you're falling in love with somebody and you have all those big rush of emotions and it's so amazing. I feel that same way after I get out of a bad relationship. I fall back in love with myself. I feel like euphoric. It's amazing. So I will tell Caitlyn that you will feel the same way falling in love as you getting out of that bad relationship. And you don't have to stay. You can leave at any time. Nobody is forcing you to be here. And also, to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, you don't owe men anything for their generosity. I used to feel like that, and I don't anymore. And that's something I would really love to remind my younger self.
I love that. You know what? I think we should end it there, because otherwise this is about to be a 3.5-hour podcast, and I absolutely adore you.
But I adore you as well.
Yeah, you got to get yourself right. You got to get right for this date. Hopefully,
I know.
This date.
I'm getting drinks with a friend before, and then I have a date too. So.
Oh, that's a good. Oh, I like that plan. People need to do that, and I hope you tell your friend where this guy is.
Yeah. I've been going out with this guy. Yeah. No, we're good. Yeah.
Oh. Well, then shit. I retract the pussy power. You got the pussy power. You good.
Yeah.
Girl.
I think how many dates? 7 or 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sex is good? Sex is great? Or
sex is good.
Oh, okay.
No, we don't worry, we banged. Yeah.
You test the product. Perfect.
Yeah, I gotta test the product. Yeah. I'm not gonna withhold, I'm like by the third date I'm like, fuck, I haven't fucked yet. I'm trying to not be such a hoe anymore, and I'm dying by the third date.
Listen, you could still be a hoe and a smart hoe. Listen,
it's true.
Hoes don't have to fuck on the first date.
No,
okay?
No.
Fucking on the first date does not make you a hoe.
No.
And you can still be a hoe after date 7, giving it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mentality
exactly.
to take from all this. Man, what a fucking great episode.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm glad we made this happen.
Yeah, me too.
I'm already reeling in my mind, I got to bring her back.
Mm-hmm. I know. I can't wait to. We have to do it again. We'll do it in person.
Yes, we'll do it in
Next
person.
time.
Maybe we can do it in a setting.
Yes,
we'll figure it out. Figure it out.
Yeah, let's do it up.
With that said, Caitlyn, where can the people find you? Where can the earbuds get intact with you? Tap in. Where can they go?
You can follow me on Instagram at Caitlyn Dryden and at Slut Podcast. You can also follow me on TikTok, and it's SLT Pod, so slut without the U in slut. And that's a guys we fucked, I think, lingo. I'm totally just stealing from them. And you can also go to slut-pod.com and CaitlynDryden.com.
Perfect.
And what about you? Anything for my listeners?
Yeah, listeners, new earbuds, hopefully.
Yes.
You can check me out at Ms. Radio Sapphire. That's MsRadioSapphire on Instagram, as well as MsRadioSapphire.com. Sapphires Earplay at Instagram. I do have a TikTok, but I'm not active on the TikTok. We'll talk about that later, y'all. X, I can't get on the X and the Twitter, so that's it. That's an obsolete. Unfortunately, all the gems from Ms. Radio Sapphire are gone. And man, Twitter was popping when I was on.
I bet your Twitter was popping. Yeah.
Great. So yes, that's where you can find me, and so excited. It's on Sapphire's Earplay is pretty much everywhere. And if you guys are liking the conversation, watch our faces, our facial
Yes.
reactions.
We're
in the
gorgeous
visual.
too.
We're gorgeous.
Sapphire
Honey, I'm
has
giving-
some amazing pink hair.
Stop!
So hot.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not usually into the snow buddies, but Caitlin, I'm just saying, girl, if you're a little curious, you get a little curious, you know who to call now.
Okay, I'll call you. I'm always curious, you know.
Respectfully, okay? Listen, This is not me being predatory. I'm just saying.
No, it's invited.
Yes, you are very easy on the eyes, the voice, everything just.
Thank you.
Chef's kiss.
You too. Right back at you.
Well, remember, everybody, that safe sex is the best hot sex. Till next time. Caitlin, speaking of, plug in anything coming up, like in the next, any plans for fall, what you got? Anything?
Gosh, fall. That's not something will be happening. Something's happening. I don't know yet.
Okay. Something's coming. But
Something's
we now
coming.
know where to follow you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We can't wait. I'm
Okay.
excited and all the things. So yes,
Okay.
safe sex is the best hot sex. Till next time, good night. That was the show, all you sexy motherfuckers out there. Remember to follow at Ms. Radio Sapphire and Sapphire's Earplay on Instagram. Want some eargasms of the past and future? Make sure to follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all streaming platforms.